If you've been following me for a while, or you've been thinking about changing your drinking for some time, then you might have heard about playing the movie to the end. So all it means is when you're tempted to drink, when you're thinking about having just one glass, well, what you do is pause and make yourself think about how things are really going to play out, how the movie is really going to end if you do that. What's going to be the story of your evening and the following day if you have just one drink? Because it's probably not going to be just one. So how many will you end up having? How will you feel by the end of the evening? How will you feel when you wake up in the early hours of the morning, or when you're struggling through the next day? When you do this playing the movie forward exercise properly and really do it in detail, it can be pretty powerful. So playing the movie to the end is something you hear talked about quite a lot. I mean, some people call it thinking through the drink, and it's certainly a tool that can work quite well. But the reason I actually want to talk about it today is because I was going through some of the comments that were left on my blog recently, and I couldn't help but notice that some of the people who'd written there are doing the exact opposite of playing the movie forward. Here's what I mean. When I read comments like, "But I just love that first drink," or "Drinking is so relaxing," or "It's such a treat for me to have a drink at the end of a tough day," whenever I hear that kind of thing, I know someone is playing out the first scene of their movie, and that's it. They are watching that beginning bit on a loop in their mind over and over, and they're not thinking about anything else. I want to shine a light on this because it's a common mistake that a lot of people fall into, and goodness, I know I did this too. I did this for ages. So just imagine this scenario for a moment. You go to the cinema to watch a movie. Remember those days when we used to go to the cinema, right? You're sat there with your popcorn, and the opening scene of the film is amazing. You're thinking, great, I am so glad I'm here. This is going to be a brilliant film. And in fact, let's say the first 10 to 15 minutes are really good. But then things slowly go downhill. The movie gets worse and worse. You start to wish you weren't there, but you can't leave the cinema now. The film takes you to some really dark places, and by the time the credits roll and you get up out of your seat, you sort of stagger out of the cinema feeling awful. You're tired, ill, and in a terrible mood. Now, if someone asked you what you thought of that kind of movie that made you feel that way, what would you say? I think you would judge the movie in its entirety, just like you do with everything else in life. So if 80% of it was crap, then one great opening scene isn't going to override that, is it? It would be a bad film. So here's the key thing. When we think about alcohol, it's always got to be within the context of the whole movie. And when it comes to booze, that movie is 24 hours long. Seriously, that is how long it lasts. That's how long you deal with the fallout for. Because you go from those first couple of drinks to the extra drinks you didn't plan on having, to drinking many more, to passing out on the sofa or falling into bed. Then you wake up early because you can't sleep, you feel hungover, or at best you're kind of tired and groggy. Then all the problems you drank over the night before are still there, only now they seem even harder to figure out. Then you've got some alcohol-induced anxiety and you're not in a problem-solving mindset. Everything throughout the following day is going to feel so hard. You're not on your game and you're just getting through the day and doing the bare minimum. And honestly, that alone feels like climbing a mountain. By the time you get to the end of a day like that, it has been such a battle and such hard work. You are much more likely to want another drink that evening. There are 24 hours in this particular movie, and the good bit that you're so focused on, the opening scene, that lasts for all of half an hour, maybe an hour max. But this is a package deal here. You're going to get the other 23 hours whether you like it or not. So when people say drinking is so relaxing, you can see that's not really true when you think about the whole movie, the whole 24 hours following the drink. That is hardly stress-free. And I wouldn't say any of that sounds like much of a treat either. Putting yourself through that process is a punishment, really. So, if you are drinking and struggling right now, you've got two choices. You can carry on living for that brief opening scene. You can carry on putting all your energy and focus onto it, romanticizing the hell out of it, wishing things were different and trying to find some way of skipping the rest of the movie. Or you can push play on a different story, the alcohol-free film. And I'll tell you now, the opening scenes of that movie might be a bit underwhelming. You might be a bit unsure of where it's going or if you're going to like it, but stick with it because it's a grower. It gets better and better as you get further into it. And the alcohol-free movie has a very happy ending, and I know you don't want to miss out on that. So I'm Kate B. Please scroll down and let me know which movie you're going to choose for yourself tonight. Let me know if this resonates with you, and I hope you have a brilliant and hangover-free week ahead.